So what's the backdrop? What is this crisis? In Spain right now, 50% of the youth are unemployed. In Greece, 76% of the young people think the only way that they can survive is by leaving the country. And 20% of the population is already making preparations to leave the country. Apparently now in Greece, 9 out of 10 people cannot afford to pay for medical prescriptions. The wages were first cut last year of the public sector employees by 25%. Now the wages of everyone have been cut by 25%. That's what's going on in Greece. And you have to think of the hypocrisy. We're being told we're doing a bailout of Greece. We're not bailing out Greece. We're bailing out Goldman Sachs and Credit Suisse and the Royal Bank of Scotland just as every other bailout. Just like, can you imagine if someone said they were bailing out the United States? Where's the money? That hasn't gone to the American population. It's the British Empire. It's an imperial looting policy, just like the Roman Empire, just like every empire. So the population is at a breaking point because what people know now is that this is not a cyclical crisis. No one you talk to in the street says, oh yeah, I'm just going to tighten my belt and I'll get by a little longer. People don't think that anymore. People know that it is now life or death. There is nothing more to be cut. And what you have is a couple of parts of the world who have refused to capitulate. Russia and China have refused to go along with this policy. They are making extraordinary agreements. In that regard, you could say Obama has been the great unifier because he is bringing Russia and China together probably faster than almost anyone could, except Lyndon LaRouche, because of the war. So Russia and China just did these massive military exercises together. And it was extremely festive, and they had big boats, and they would get alongside each other and hold concerts. And, I mean, it's a real collaboration. The United States should be in the middle of that collaboration. But instead, thanks to the game of empire, what the United States is doing is putting anti-ballistic missile systems, which I understand won't work anyway, but thanks to the shutdown of our space program, our technology is so primitive, these things aren't even working, but nonetheless, we're putting them all around the border of Russia. We're putting new military bases in Australia. So the Russians and Chinese are saying, we're on combat alert. That's the preparation. Now, why? Because they have an optimistic outlook. China has the idea that 90% of their population is going to have access to high-speed rail, to trains. And in China, high-speed rail is 220 miles an hour, not 90 miles an hour. Okay, it's actually high-speed rail. They're building that. They're working with Russia on nuclear power. They're working on getting to the moon. They want to get helium-3. They want to develop nuclear fusion. They think they should develop Siberia. The Russians are so wildly optimistic that they are going right ahead and building the railroad up to the Bering Straits, hoping that we can win the fight in the United States to end this reign of insanity and actually build something on the other side so we can get the Bering Strait Tunnel built. So what you have coming out of London is they would like it to be a bluff. Thermonuclear war is not the first choice of the British Empire, but since they think the world really should only have 1 billion people, if it's necessary, they're prepared to go with it. What they want to do is make China and Russia do to their populations what Greece and Italy and Spain have done to their populations. Basically give up their sovereignty and just be looted and have a kind of a genocide that will take a little longer than a thermonuclear war. So that's the game. And in case you doubt this, they just had hearings in the Senate. And John Kerry has continued his absolutely treasonous role of protecting and promoting these kind of wars. So they have passed a bill calling, or through committee, it's not passed in the Senate, it just passed through committee, calling for the overthrow of the Assad regime in Syria. And you have to think about this. When is it the U.S., how have we come to the point where we can pass resolutions in our Congress calling for the overthrow of governments that have in no way attacked us and are in no way a threat to us? why is this tolerated? And part of the resolution explicitly says the United States, quote, strongly condemns the governments of the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran for providing military and security equipment to the government of Syria. So we're now passing resolutions in our Senate, lest anyone thought LaRouche was exaggerating. We are targeting Russia. We are picking a war with Russia. That's what this insane lunatic president that we have right now in the United States is doing. Now, and to make matters worse, you may have heard that Obama, so here's the guy who's putting us on a course of thermonuclear war, and I don't know what some people are old enough to remember what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. My family being Quaker, when I was a child, we had these little books written by people who were children when Hiroshima was bombed, and they were on this shelf that I always used to sit next to the heater to get warm in the morning. And they described the effects of these bombs, where it literally is the case that you would rather that you had died right away than gone through what the people who lived saw and experienced. I mean, you want to hear atrocity. This is atrocity beyond the imagination. So this is what Obama is about to unleash, but nonetheless, he has taken it upon himself to go to the Holocaust Museum. Probably feels very comfortable there because it's a tribute to the massive damage that can be done by people like him. And call for an atrocities prevention board. An atrocities prevention board that a person who's prepared to unleash thermonuclear war is going to run. Now, is this board going to do something about the people of Haiti, where it's never been rebuilt, where people are dying of cholera at this moment? No. Is this board going to do something about the fact that you have 30 million people in northern Africa who are facing starvation because of drought conditions? No, that's not an atrocity. What are they going to do? They have a hit list, 80 governments that they're targeting to overthrow for alleged atrocities. And a number of the people who are objecting to this, including Bruce Fein and others who were leading the charge for impeachment of Cheney and Bush, are pointing out that it seems that whenever you have these atrocities prevention boards, the only things that qualify as atrocities are what other governments do, but not what is done by the government of the U.S. or Britain, really. And I also should just say, this really is a British policy for anyone who doubts it. Remember Tony Blair? Remember the quote-unquote sexed up reports on the weapons of mass destruction, how closely Tony Blair worked with the Bush administration? And then you had the British Prime Minister David Cameron over here not so long ago, and he was given a state visit. The head of state is the Queen, okay? The Prime Minister is not the head of state, but Obama gave him a state visit. And then if you saw, it was on the LPAC website. I almost fell out of my chair because Obama gave a toast to Cameron, but it was to the Queen. It was a toast for the Queen being in the throne for 30 years. And he said that we were her subjects. I mean, it's really, if you have any questions. And then Tony Blair comes over here, and Tony Blair has new offices in Jerusalem where he's meeting with Bibi Netanyahu all the time. So we have absolutely a British puppet in the White House prepared to unleash thermonuclear war for a British imperial policy.